Although you can configure everything about your XIM Edge using XIM Manager, there are certain settings that are best made while in-game, such as mouse sensitivity and button bindings. Outside of XIM Manager, Edge communicates to you via its lights. The light animates in different ways depending if Edge is running in play mode or config mode. Play mode is the default mode Edge runs in at startup. In this mode, the controller functions normally and Edge will report runtime status to you. By default, your Edge will display the color you choose for the current active config. For example, if your config has red as its color, Edge would display a red breathing color animation. The game you are playing may have a completely different aiming system for aim down sight or ADS as compared to HIP. In this case, Edge will use a different Smart Translator when ADS is active. It is very important that you are notified when you've activated ADS so that you know you've configured your bindings correctly. When ADS is activated, Edge will display a quick green pulse. After you've verified ADS is working properly, you can disable this notification under More Settings while editing the config in XIM Manager. All console shooters have different aiming turn speed limits. Smart Translators are designed to provide you with a one-to-one connection between the mouse and reticle on screen up to that speed limit. To help tune your settings, Edge provides a notification to let you know when you've exceeded that turn speed limit. It will display quick red pulses when it occurs. You may want to decrease your sensitivity if you are constantly hitting the limit. When you are comfortable with your sensitivity with respect to the turn speed limit, you can disable this notification under More Settings while editing the config in XIM Manager. In config mode, you can use your controller to update your hip and aim down sight sensitivity as well as your button bindings. Your mouse and keyboard or joystick will continue to stay active so that you can quickly preview changes until your optimal settings are found. To enter config mode, press Start and Back on your Xbox controller or press Start and Select on the PS3 controller at the same time. While in config mode, your Edge will display two rapid blue pulses over and over. To exit from config mode, press Start and Back or Start and Select at the same time again. Your settings will be saved. Use your controller's D-pad up to increase hip aiming sensitivity. As it is increased, your Edge will display yellow brightening pulses. Likewise, use your controller's D-pad down to decrease hip aiming sensitivity. As it is decreased, your Edge will display yellow fading pulses. Remember that your mouse is always active during this, so you can tune to your desired sensitivity settings quickly. If you've set up your config to use an alternate aim down sight sensitivity, use your controller's D-pad right to increase ADS aiming sensitivity. As it is increased, your Edge will display green brightening pulses. Similarly, use your controller's D-pad left to decrease ADS aiming sensitivity. As it is decreased, your Edge will display green fading pulses. Again, your mouse is active. Make sure your ADS activation button is held down as you are previewing your changes. To enter button binding mode, press the guide button. For PS3, press the PS button on your controller. Once you have entered button binding mode, you cannot exit back to sensitivity editing mode. You will need to exit from config mode instead. Upon entering button binding mode, your Edge will display a magenta followed by a cyan pulse. At this point, you can now bind buttons. To start, press any button on your controller. Edge will acknowledge your controller button selection by displaying a magenta pulse. Now press any button on your mouse, keyboard, or joystick. That button will now be bound to the controller button you choose. Edge will acknowledge the binding by displaying a cyan pulse. Repeat this process until you've mapped all the buttons you want. If you can't remember what a particular controller button does in the game, simply press and hold the button and Edge will allow it to pass through. When you are done, press Start and Back for Xbox or Start and Select for PS3. At that point, all of your binding selections will be saved.